Welcome to the 2015 course preview for the 16th Annual Gentlemen's Club Challenge Disc Golf Tournament, presented by Innova Champion Discs. Along with the Las Vegas Disc Golf Club, Innova has made the Gentlemen's Club Challenge Southern Nevada's premier disc golf event. With Innova and all our other tournament sponsors, the expected payback to the event is over 300%. In 2014, the GCC was the 9th richest event on tour, surpassing 5 NT events in total purse. This tournament hosts a field of Grandmasters and Senior Grandmasters that only the PDGA World Championships can rival. With an open field of nearly 100 players, over 20 open women, and over 40 plus of each Masters and Grandmasters, the depth of talent will rival any National Tour event. This year's Gentlemen's Club Challenge is sure to be no different than the other. The first thing many will notice is the major shift in the layout from last year's Gentlemen's Club Challenge. With the disc golf course at Sunset Park being one of the oldest in the world, the tournament directors felt the GCC should be true to the basic layout of the course, while extending many holes and making for challenges not seen before in Las Vegas. Distance and technicality are the keys in this tournament. The course layout should challenge every shot in your bag, and if you can stay on target and in bounds, you should do well. Now on to the holes. First hole, hole 1, 329-foot par 3. You begin by throwing into the trees. They have a very low ceiling. A low line drive will play well here. OB is over the fence to the right, but it shouldn't come into play for most players. Hole 2, par 3, 376 feet. It's a big lefty hyzer hole. OB is over the fence to the right and also past the painted line on the left. It also wraps behind the hole, making for a technical shot. A well-executed roller will serve a righty here. The par 3 third hole comes in at 501 feet, with 2 alleys to drive down and OB on either side of the fairway. The fairway narrows considerably as you get closer to the basket, and the trees near the basket will make for a tricky upshot. Birdies will be hard to come by on this hole. Hole 4 is par 3, comes in at 397 feet. OB's on the left, but shouldn't come into play except in the most errant of shots. Some guardian trees sit in the center of the fairway, blocking most access to the basket. The basket sits inside the center of a huge mesquite tree, which can leave you with a very interesting putt. Coming in at 267 feet, the par 3 hole 5 is destined to become one of the most hated holes in the course. There's a Clown's Mile triple mandatory hole 202 feet from the tee pad. This will test most players' accuracy to deliver a straight drive. A drop zone will be provided if you missed. When last this position was played, there was a fence directly behind the hole and an ace was hit by Dave Felberg when his roller climbed the fence and dropped in the hole. But a roller wouldn't be a wise option this year. Our first par 4, hole 6, comes in at 567 feet. Your drive must pass on the left of the first light pole, making your drive on this hole key. Even with a well-placed upshot, a putt on the dreaded hangman basket awaits. Hole 7, another par 4, is a huge 805-foot beast. 2 big drives will put you in a position for a birdie putt if you can get past the guardian trees in the center of the fairway. OB is on both sides of the fairway, but it shouldn't come into play. Hole 8 is a 704-foot par 4. On your drive, you'll need to stay to the left of the 2 light poles on the right-hand side of the fairway, and there's danger on the left in form of OB. The fairway narrows as you head down, and the basket sits on a peninsula that is narrow and surrounded by OB. The basket will also sit on top of several hay bales and make for an interesting putt. Our first par 5, hole 9, comes in at 780 feet. With OB is surrounding the snaking S-shaped fairway, positioning on your drives will be very important. Big arms can put themselves in place for an eagle by throwing over the ball field, but remember, with big reward comes big risk. Next is the par 3, 343-foot hole 10. The tee pad sits near a large tree with drooping branches, making for a very nervous tee shot, and a second level of trees can easily knock down a poorly thrown drive. Hole 11, par 3 at 301 feet, has a narrow fairway and a very narrow landing area near the basket. This can make a fairly easy hole seem much more difficult, but a birdie is key on this hole. Hole 12 is a par 3, 370-foot short hole with another narrowing fairway. It's also another must-get birdie hole that will card many higher scores as people skip OB around the basket. Hole 13, a par 3 at 370 feet, has OB left and OB right. This will test your ability to throw straight down this narrow fairway, and you'll need to stay right of the first mandatory tree on the left-hand side. Make sure you don't put too much in your drive either, as OB is just 20 feet behind the basket. The shortest of the par 4s is hole 14, which only comes in at 554 feet. With OB on the left and trees and OB on the right, the shortest of the par 4s will test your accuracy. Stay left and have a good look at the alley that leads to the basket for your birdie shot, but go right too early and you can end up amongst the pines. Big Arms could have a look at the eagle with a massive drive here. Hole 15 is a 614-foot par 4. Two mandatories along the right-hand side to make sure you don't throw over the busy street. An OB line on your left will test your shot placement off the tee. The fairway narrows considerably as you get closer to the basket, so a premium is placed on your upshot accuracy. It's easy to skip OB on this hole. At only 190 feet, the hole 16 par 3 island hole is the shortest hole in the course. It's also our tournament CTP contest. With a very narrow island and an elevated basket, the pin placement will challenge most players to go for it. But you go too hard, you can land off the island. Too tentatively, you can leave yourself with a birdie run that could easily end up off the island OB. Hole 17 is another par 5 at 964 feet. This is the longest of the par 5s. Length and shot placement are the key here. It's a large landing area for your drive, but then the fairway narrows with OB left and right. As you progress down the fairway, an OB gully breaks up the fairway in front of the basket. If you go too far on your upshot, you could risk a death putt coming back. You won't lose any strokes in the field taking a 5 here. Par is a very good score. The final hole at the GCC is a par 5, 854-foot hole 18. It's essentially the same finishing hole as last year's GCC with one change. The fairway now has a large gap. At just over 100 feet wide, if you drive too far, it could cost you a stroke. If you go too short and hit an early tree, it'll make you think before you attempt to go for it. But with a well-executed drive and a well-executed second shot, there should be some eagle opportunities on this final hole and a lot of excitement coming in. Well, we hope you've enjoyed the 2015 Gentlemen's Club Challenge course preview. We'd like to thank our title sponsor, Innova Champion Discs, for making the GCC a must-play event here in Southern Nevada, and we'll see you all on the course in February.